Once, after signing a long-term deal with Warner Brothers, Bogart had predicted with glee that his teeth and hair would fall out before the contract ended. By the mid-1950s, well established as an independent producer, the sometime actor's health was failing. In the wake of Santana Productions, he had formed a new company and had anxious plans for a film, Melville Goodwin, USA, in which he would play a general and Bacall a press magnate. However, his persistent cough and difficulty eating became too serious to ignore and he dropped the project. Bogart, a heavy smoker and drinker, had developed cancer of the esophagus. He almost never spoke of his failing health and refused to see a doctor until January 1956. A diagnosis was made several weeks later, but by then removal of his esophagus, 2 lymph nodes, and a rib on March 1, 1956, was too late to halt the disease, even with chemotherapy. He underwent corrective surgery in November 1956 after the cancer had spread. With time, he grew too weak to walk up and down stairs, valiantly fighting the pain yet still able to joke, "Put me in the dumbwaiter and I'll ride down to the first floor in style." It was then altered to accommodate his wheelchair. Frank Sinatra was a frequent visitor, as were Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy. In an interview, Hepburn described the last time she and Tracy saw their dear friend, on January 13, 1957. Spence patted him on the shoulder and said, "Good night, Bogey." Bogey turned his eyes to Spence very quietly and with a sweet smile covered Spence's hand with his own and said, "Goodbye, Spence." Spence's heart stood still. He understood. Bogart fell into a coma and died in his bed the next day. He had just turned 57 20 days prior and weighed only 80 pounds. His simple funeral was held at All Saints Episcopal Church, with musical selections from favorite composers Johann Sebastian Bach and Claude Debussy. The ceremony was attended by some of Hollywood's biggest stars, including Hepburn, Tracy, Judy Garland, David Niven, Ronald Reagan, James Mason, Bette Davis, Danny Kaye, Joan Fontaine, Marlene Dietrich, James Cagney, Errol Flynn, Gregory Peck and Gary Cooper, as well as Billy Wilder and Jack Warner. Bacall had asked Tracy to give the eulogy, but he was too upset, so John Huston spoke instead. He reminded the gathered mourners that while Bogart's life had ended far too soon, it had been a rich one. Bogart's cremated remains were interred in Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery, Glendale, California. He was buried with a small, gold whistle, once part of a charm bracelet he had given to Lauren Bacall before they married. On it was inscribed an allusion to a line from their first movie together, where Bacall had said to him shortly after their first meeting, "You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow." The inscription read, "If you want anything, just whistle."